What unfolds when a protective mother clashes with the Queen consort over the future of Britain's royal family? The rumored rift between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla has captivated royal watchers, raising eyebrows and igniting debates about loyalty, influence, and tradition within the monarchy. For years, whispers of tension simmered beneath the surface, but Carole's dramatic decision to break her silence brought the feud into the spotlight, shaking the foundations of royal unity. What drove Carole to speak out after years of carefully maintained composure? How did this conflict impact the lives of Kate Middleton, Prince William, and their children? And most importantly, what does this feud reveal about the challenges of navigating modern family dynamics in one of the world's most traditional institutions? Buckle up as we delve into the untold story behind this explosive royal drama. The tension between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla didn't erupt overnight. It was a gradual buildup of moments, whispers, and slights that began when Kate Middleton entered the orbit of Britain's most powerful family. In the early 2000s, when Kate was introduced to Prince William's family, the meeting should have been a joyous occasion. Instead, it marked the first subtle cracks in what would become a long and contentious relationship. Carole, fiercely protective of her daughter and determined to see her succeed, was naturally cautious. She understood the weight of what was at stake. Her daughter was dating the future King of England, and the rules of this world were unlike anything she had ever known. But Carole was no ordinary woman. With a sharp mind and an unyielding determination, she quickly began to adapt. To the outsider, Carole seemed confident and composed, but behind closed doors, there was much she had to navigate. From the beginning, Camilla was said to have kept Carole at arm's length. While she was outwardly gracious, offering polite smiles and warm words, there was an unmistakable chill beneath the surface. Insiders whispered that Camilla had misgivings about Kate's middle-class upbringing, her family's lack of aristocratic lineage, and Carole's obvious ambition for her daughter. For a woman like Camilla, who had spent decades carving her place within the royal family, Carole's presence was unsettling, a reminder of the monarchy's evolving future and the modernization she had resisted for so long. As William and Kate's relationship deepened, so did the divide between their mothers. Carole, ever supportive of Kate, threw herself into fostering a strong relationship with the royal family. She attended events, carefully observing the customs and behaviors expected of someone in her position. While some saw her efforts as admirable, others, including Camilla, reportedly viewed them as overstepping boundaries. It wasn't just about Kate anymore. It was about Carole's growing influence within royal circles, an influence Camilla felt was undeserved. When the royal engagement was announced in 2010, the relationship between Carole and Camilla faced its first true test. Planning a wedding for a future king and queen wasn't just a family affair, it was a national event. Carole, meticulous and detail-oriented, became deeply involved in the preparations, much to Camilla's apparent irritation. To Carole, this was about ensuring her daughter had the wedding of her dreams. But to Camilla, it was another sign that Carole was inching closer to a space that wasn't hers to occupy. During the pre-wedding events, the tension between the two women became harder to ignore. At a private reception, witnesses recalled a frosty exchange where Camilla subtly criticized Carole's choice of decor, a moment that left Carole visibly flustered. While she maintained her composure, those who knew her well saw the sting of Camilla's words. The Queen Consort's remarks weren't loud or overt, but they carried a weight that was impossible to miss, a reminder of who truly held authority in royal matters. As the big day approached, the relationship between Carole and Camilla seemed to settle into a tense truce. Both women understood the importance of appearances, especially with the eyes of the world upon them. The wedding itself was a resounding success, a fairy tale moment that seemed to silence the whispers of doubt about Kate's suitability as a royal. But behind the scenes, the undercurrent of tension remained. Carole may have been welcomed into the royal fold on the surface, but Camilla's subtle dismissals had left their mark. The years that followed brought no resolution to the simmering discord. While Kate blossomed in her role as Duchess of Cambridge, Carole's presence in her daughter's life remained strong. To Camilla, this was an anomaly. Traditionally, royal mothers-in-law faded into the background, their roles diminishing as their daughters became part of the royal family. But Carole was different. She was actively involved in her grandchildren's lives and maintained a close bond with Kate. a relationship that Camilla reportedly found hard to accept. Camilla's unease wasn't just about Carole's involvement. It was about the way Carole was being perceived. Media outlets praised Carole for her hands-on approach, often comparing her favorably to the more reserved and traditional Camilla. While Carole was seen as a relatable modern grandmother, Camilla was painted as aloof and out of touch. The comparisons weren't always direct, but they were enough to fuel the fire. Camilla, used to being at the center of royal attention, found herself overshadowed in the narrative surrounding Kate's young family. The facade of politeness between the two women began to crack during Prince George's early years. Carole's regular presence at Kensington Palace became a point of contention, with insiders claiming that Camilla felt excluded from key moments in her step-grandchildren's lives. Although Carole was careful not to overstep, her natural closeness with Kate created an undeniable dynamic, one that left Camilla on the periphery. The relationship between Carole and Camilla had always been complicated, but by the mid-2010s, it had evolved into a quiet rivalry. Both women were strong-willed and protective of their positions within the family, albeit for different reasons. For Carole, her involvement was rooted in love and support for Kate. For Camilla, it was about preserving tradition and ensuring her own influence wasn't diminished. These opposing motivations created a dynamic that was as compelling as it was fraught. By the time Princess Charlotte was born in 2015, the divide between Carole and Camilla was palpable. Public events showcased their ability to maintain civility, but behind closed doors the tension continued to grow. As Kate balanced her royal duties with motherhood, Carole remained a constant presence, offering guidance and support. Camilla, meanwhile, watched from a distance, her feelings of exclusion growing stronger. While the world saw a royal family united in celebration, those closest to them knew better. The relationship between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla had become a delicate balancing act, with both women vying for their place in Kate's life. It was only a matter of time before this carefully constructed facade would shatter, revealing the true extent of their rivalry. As the years went by, the tension between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla became an open secret among those closest to the royal family. What had begun as subtle slights and polite distance was now a quiet, simmering rivalry. While neither woman openly acknowledged the strain, their actions often spoke louder than words. Those within the palace walls whispered about how both women seemed to compete for influence over Kate's role in the family, each shaping her in their own image. By the time Prince George was born in 2013, Carole's involvement in her daughter's life was more prominent than ever. She was a constant presence at Kensington Palace, lending her support and offering guidance to Kate as she navigated the challenges of motherhood and royal duties. For Kate, having her mother nearby was a source of comfort, a grounding presence in a world filled with protocol and scrutiny. But for Camilla, this dynamic was unusual. Traditionally, royal mothers-in-law had a defined role, supportive from afar, fading into the background as their daughters took on their royal responsibilities. Carole, however, was different, and her closeness to Kate was impossible to ignore. Camilla appeared unfazed. She continued to attend royal engagements, smiling for the cameras and maintaining the image of a united family. Privately, however, insiders claimed she felt increasingly sidelined. Camilla had envisioned herself as a guiding figure for Kate, a mentor who would help her navigate the complexities of royal life. Yet, with Carole so involved, it seemed there was little room for Camilla to play that role. The comparisons between the two women didn't help either. Media outlets often highlighted Carole's hands-on approach, contrasting it with Camilla's more reserved demeanor. Although subtle, these narratives only deepened the divide. Tensions came to a head during Princess Charlotte's christening in 2015. The event, steeped in tradition and family significance, was expected to be a harmonious occasion. Yet behind the scenes, the atmosphere was anything but. Reports emerged of a minor but telling disagreement between Carole and Camilla over seating arrangements. While the disagreement was quickly resolved, it underscored the unspoken power struggle between the two women. Those present noted the frosty exchanges and the palpable tension that lingered throughout the day. This pattern continued over the next few years. At royal events, Carole and Camilla would exchange polite smiles, their interactions carefully choreographed for the cameras. But insiders described their relationship as strained at best. with neither woman willing to concede ground. Carole, fiercely loyal to her daughter and grandchildren, was determined to remain an active presence in their lives. Camilla, on the other hand, believed in maintaining traditional boundaries, seeing Carole's involvement as encroachment. The birth of Prince Louis in 2018 marked another turning point. By then, the royal family had settled into a routine, with Kate and William balancing their royal duties with their growing family. Yet, the arrival of their third child seemed to amplify the existing tensions. Carole's presence at Kensington Palace became even more frequent, with reports suggesting she was a hands-on grandmother, often assisting with childcare. While Kate appreciated her mother's support, it was clear that not everyone in the royal household felt the same way. During Prince Louis's christening, the undercurrents of tension became impossible to ignore. As the family gathered for photos, Camilla reportedly made a pointed comment about the overcrowded nature of the Middleton family's involvement in royal affairs. While her remark was brushed off with laughter, those present couldn't help but notice the sharpness in her tone. Carole, for her part, remained composed, refusing to engage. Yet the moment was indicative of the broader dynamics at play, a quiet battle for influence and proximity to Kate and her children. As whispers of their strained relationship grew louder, the media began to take notice. Tabloids speculated about a feud between the two women, pointing to their contrasting approaches to family and tradition. While Carole represented modernity and relatability, Camilla embodied the weight of history and aristocratic values. These narratives, though often exaggerated, captured the essence of their rivalry, a clash of personalities shaped by differing worldviews and loyalties. By late 2018, it became increasingly clear that the relationship between Carole and Camilla had reached a breaking point. The public smiles and carefully managed appearances were no longer enough to mask the underlying discord. Insiders began leaking stories of private disagreements, painting a picture of two women locked in a quiet but relentless struggle for influence. For Carole, the stakes were personal. Her daughter's happiness and well-being were paramount. For Camilla, it was about preserving the traditions of the monarchy and ensuring her place within it. The cracks in their relationship were further exposed during a royal charity event that year. While the event itself was a success, reports emerged of a behind-the-scenes clash over seating arrangements and speeches. According to those present, Carole had been invited to speak briefly about her work with a related initiative, a gesture that was seen as an acknowledgement of her contributions. However, Camilla reportedly intervened, suggesting that the focus remain on the royal family. While the disagreement was handled diplomatically, it left a lasting impression on those involved. By this point, Carole's frustration was evident to those closest to her. She had spent years navigating the complexities of royal life, carefully balancing her role as a supportive mother with the expectations placed upon her by the monarchy. Yet, despite her efforts, she often found herself at odds with Camilla, whose approach seemed intent on maintaining the status quo. For Carole, it wasn't just about her. It was about ensuring that Kate, William, and their children had the support they needed in a world that was often unforgiving. The stage was set for a confrontation, though neither woman could have predicted just how public it would become. As the royal family prepared for another year of engagements and milestones, the tension between Carole and Camilla threatened to overshadow the carefully curated image of unity. Behind the palace walls, the whispers grew louder and the lines between personal and public began to blur. For Carole, the time was coming when her silence would no longer be an option. The cracks that had formed in the relationship between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla were no longer whispers confined to palace walls. By early 2019, the tension had become a poorly kept secret, with even the most casual royal observers noting the increasingly visible strain. Family events, once marked by a veneer of civility, now carried an unshakable undertone of awkwardness. The relationship that had once been politely distant was now a silent standoff. Carole had spent years biting her tongue, maintaining a dignified silence in the face of subtle provocations. But with each passing month, her frustration grew harder to contain. The turning point came during a series of private royal meetings where Camilla allegedly pushed for stricter adherence to traditional roles within the family. According to insiders, these discussions included suggestions that Carole's frequent presence in Kate's life be scaled back to allow for a more formal upbringing for the Cambridge children. While these comments were framed as preserving royal traditions, they struck a nerve with Carole, who saw them as thinly veiled attempts to diminish her influence. Camilla's actions were not entirely without precedent. Over the years, she had worked diligently to cement her position within the royal family, overcoming her own controversies and winning over a skeptical public. For Camilla, tradition and hierarchy were the cornerstones of royal life, and anything that disrupted that order was met with resistance. Carole, with her modern and hands-on approach, represented a challenge to this carefully constructed dynamic. It was during Prince George's 6th birthday celebrations in the summer of 2019 that the tension boiled over. The event, a private family gathering at Kensington Palace, was meant to be a joyous occasion. However, reports later surfaced of a heated exchange between Carole and Camilla. While the specifics of the argument remained unclear, those present described it as the culmination of years of simmering resentment. Carole, who had long avoided direct confrontations, finally voiced her frustrations, accusing Camilla of undermining her relationship with Kate and the children. Camilla, never one to back down, defended her actions as being in the best interest of the royal family. The exchange, though brief, left an indelible mark on everyone in the room. In the weeks that followed, the fallout from the confrontation rippled through the royal family. Insiders described a palpable tension between the households, with William and Kate caught in the middle. For William, the conflict between his mother-in-law and stepmother posed a unique challenge. On one hand, he deeply valued Carole's unwavering support for Kate and their family. On the other hand, he understood the importance of maintaining unity within the royal institution. Kate, too, found herself torn, balancing her loyalty to her mother with her commitment to her royal role. Though she remained publicly composed, those close to her noted the toll it was taking. By late 2019, the media had begun to catch wind of the discord. While no official statements were made, anonymous sources leaked tantalizing details of the feud to the tabloids. Headlines speculated about secret arguments, icy standoffs, and the widening gap between the Middletons and the royal family. Carole's long-standing silence was now viewed as part of the intrigue, with many wondering if she would finally speak out. The public, meanwhile, was divided. Some sympathized with Carole, praising her for standing by her daughter in the face of royal pressures. Others saw her involvement as overreaching, a disruption to the established order of the monarchy. Amid the growing speculation, Carole remained outwardly composed. She continued to attend family events, her demeanor calm and measured. But beneath the surface, she was weighing her options. For years, Carole had taken the high road, choosing to prioritize Kate's happiness over her own grievances. Yet, with the increasing interference in her relationship with her daughter and grandchildren, she began to question whether her silence was doing more harm than good. The opportunity for Carole to break her silence came unexpectedly in late 2019. A close friend, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed to a reputable publication that Carole was considering making a public statement. While she had no intention of escalating the feud, she felt it was important to set the record straight about her role in Kate's life and address the growing narrative that she was a disruptive influence. The friend described Carole as a woman of integrity, deeply hurt by the insinuations but determined to protect her family. As rumors of Carole's impending statement swirled, the royal family braced for impact. Camilla, in particular, was reportedly concerned about the potential fallout. Though she maintained a confident exterior, those close to her noted a growing unease. Camilla was no stranger to controversy, but this feud threatened to shine a spotlight on her private life in ways she had worked hard to avoid. The prospect of Carole speaking publicly about their strained relationship was a challenge to her authority and image, one she could not easily dismiss. When Carole finally broke her silence, it was as measured as it was impactful. In a carefully worded statement, she addressed the ongoing speculation about her relationship with Camilla, stating that while she respected the traditions of the royal family, her priority would always be her daughter and grandchildren. Without naming Camilla directly, Carole spoke of the challenges of navigating life within the royal sphere and the importance of maintaining strong family bonds. Her words were a masterclass in diplomacy, managing to convey her frustrations without descending into outright criticism. The statement sent shockwaves through the media and the royal family alike. For the public, it was a rare glimpse into the inner workings of a world often shrouded in secrecy. For the royals, it was a wake-up call, a reminder of the delicate balance required to maintain their image of unity. While Carole's words were carefully constructed, their implications were clear. She would no longer remain silent in the face of actions that threatened her family's happiness. The aftermath of Carole's statement was felt almost immediately. Camilla, already wary of the growing narrative against her, found herself under intense scrutiny. Public opinion began to shift, with many questioning her role in the feud and whether her actions were motivated by tradition or personal insecurity. Within the palace, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense as advisors scrambled to manage the fallout and prevent further escalation. For Carole, the decision to speak out was not taken lightly. She knew the risks involved, the potential for backlash, and the strain it could place on Kate and William. But for her, the stakes were worth it. Carole had spent years supporting her daughter from the sidelines, enduring slights and criticisms with grace. Now she had drawn a line, making it clear that her love for her family would always come first. Carole Middleton's statement lingered in the air like a storm cloud, casting a long shadow over the royal family. While her words had been carefully measured, the underlying message was unmistakable, a direct challenge to Queen Camilla's influence and a defense of her place in Kate's life. The public reaction was swift and polarizing. Some hailed Carole's courage, calling her a modern protector of her daughter and grandchildren. Others criticized her for stepping into royal affairs, a realm they believed she had no business navigating. But no matter the perspective, one thing was clear. Carole's decision to speak out had set off a chain reaction that no one could ignore. Within the palace, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Camilla, caught off guard by Carole's statement, reportedly retreated into a tight circle of confidants. Those close to her described a mix of anger and disbelief. For years, Camilla had worked to establish her position within the royal family, overcoming public criticism and scandal to become queen consort. To have her authority questioned so publicly, and by someone outside the royal bloodline, was a blow to her carefully crafted image. Behind closed doors, the royal family scrambled to contain the fallout. King Charles, ever the diplomat, attempted to mediate between his wife and Carole. Insiders revealed that Charles urged Camilla to take the high road, emphasizing the importance of unity and the need to avoid further public disputes. But Camilla, known for her sharp wit and unyielding nature, was less inclined to let the matter rest. She viewed Carole's statement as a calculated move, one designed to undermine her role and sway public opinion. As the weeks passed, the tension between Carole and Camilla began to ripple outward, impacting other members of the royal family. Prince William, already navigating the complexities of his future role, found himself caught in an impossible position. On one hand, he deeply valued his mother-in-law's unwavering support and recognized the vital role she played in his family's life. On the other hand, he understood the precarious balance required to maintain harmony within the monarchy. For William, the feud between Carole and Camilla was more than just a personal conflict. It was a potential threat to the stability of the royal institution. Kate, too, felt the strain. Her typically calm and composed demeanor began to show cracks, with those close to her noting a subtle but noticeable shift in her public appearances. While she maintained a strong front, attending engagements with her usual grace, the weight of the situation was evident. Kate was torn between her loyalty to her mother and her commitment to her royal role. She knew that siding too openly with Carole risked alienating Camilla and upsetting the delicate dynamics of the family. Yet, she also understood that her mother's concerns were not without merit. The media, ever eager for a royal scandal, seized on the story with fervor. Headlines speculated about secret meetings, icy standoffs, and whispered ultimatums. Tabloid photos of Carole and Camilla at public events were scrutinized for signs of tension, with every glance and gesture analyzed to exhaustion. While the palace maintained its usual silence, the lack of official commentary only fueled the speculation. Royal experts weighed in, offering varying opinions on the feud's origins and its implications for the monarchy. Some framed it as a generational clash, with Carole representing a modern, hands-on approach to family, and Camilla standing for tradition and protocol. Others saw it as a more personal rivalry, born out of competing loyalties and conflicting personalities. For Carole, the public reaction was both validating and overwhelming. While she appreciated the support from those who sympathized with her position, She was acutely aware of the scrutiny her statement had invited. Every move she made, every word she spoke was now subject to intense examination. Carole had always prided herself on her ability to navigate complex situations with grace, but the spotlight brought a new level of pressure. Still, she stood firm in her resolve. For her, the well-being of Kate and her grandchildren was paramount, and no amount of criticism would deter her from defending them. Camilla, meanwhile, found herself grappling with a wave of negative press. While she had faced public scrutiny before, this was different. The feud with Carole had shifted the narrative, painting Camilla as an antagonist in a story where Carole was seen by many as the hero. The comparisons were unavoidable. Carole's image as a devoted mother and grandmother clashed starkly with the more reserved and traditional persona Camilla had cultivated. The public began to question whether Camilla's actions were driven by her role as queen consort or by personal insecurities. For a woman who had spent decades building her reputation, the shift in perception was a bitter pill to swallow. The fallout extended beyond the two women, reaching even the highest levels of the monarchy. Queen Elizabeth, frail but ever the matriarch, was said to be deeply saddened by the rift. While she rarely intervened in personal disputes, those close to her suggested that she made quiet efforts to encourage reconciliation. For the Queen, unity within the family was not just a personal value, it was a cornerstone of the monarchy's public image. The feud between Carole and Camilla threatened to undermine that image, raising questions about the royal family's ability to navigate internal conflicts in a modern era. As 2020 drew to a close, the tension showed no signs of abating. Public appearances by the royal family were marked by an almost palpable strain, with Carole and Camilla keeping a careful distance from one another. Insiders described an atmosphere of quiet hostility, with neither woman willing to make the first move toward reconciliation. While both understood the importance of maintaining appearances, the underlying resentment was impossible to ignore. For Kate and William, the situation was a delicate balancing act. They worked tirelessly to present a united front, focusing on their royal duties and their growing family. Yet, behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting. Kate, ever the peacemaker, sought ways to bridge the gap between her mother and Camilla, but the divide seemed insurmountable. William, too, felt the weight of the feud, knowing that it was more than just a personal conflict. It was a reflection of the shifting dynamics within the royal family itself. The year ended with a sense of uncertainty. While the royal family continued to project an image of stability, the cracks beneath the surface were evident to anyone paying attention. The feud between Carole and Camilla was no longer just a private matter, it had become a public spectacle. A story that captured the imagination of a world fascinated by the inner workings of the monarchy. For Carole, Camilla, and the royal family, the stakes had never been higher. And as the new year approached, one question loomed large. What would it take to finally bring this rivalry to an end? As the new year unfolded, the royal family found themselves grappling with a crisis that refused to fade. The rift between Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla had evolved from a private grievance to a public storm, and the stakes had never been higher. While the monarchy had weathered countless controversies over the years, this felt different. The feud didn't just expose personal tensions, it called into question the very fabric of royal unity in a rapidly modernizing world. For Carole, the months that followed her statement were a delicate dance. She continued to play an active role in Kate's life, offering her support and presence as a mother and grandmother. Yet she was careful not to fan the flames of the controversy. Her decision to speak out had been calculated, driven by a need to defend her family. But she had no desire to escalate the conflict. Still, the public attention on her relationship with Camilla was impossible to escape. Every visit to Kensington Palace, every appearance at a family event, was scrutinized and dissected by the media, adding pressure to an already fraught situation. Camilla, on the other hand, faced her own set of challenges. While she maintained a composed exterior, those close to her described an undercurrent of frustration. The narrative that had emerged, of a modern, relatable Carole standing in opposition to a more traditional and aloof Camilla, was a stark reversal of the public acceptance Camilla had worked so hard to achieve. For years, she had been seen as a stabilizing force within the royal family, a woman who had overcome public skepticism to become a respected figure. Now that image was being questioned, and the toll it took was evident in her increasingly private demeanor. Amid the tension, Carole Middleton found herself at the center of a delicate balancing act. Her role as both a devoted daughter and a future queen made her uniquely positioned to bridge the gap, but it also placed her under immense pressure. Kate had always been known for her calm and composed nature, a quality that endeared her to the public and the royal family alike. But behind the scenes, the strain was evident. Those closest to her noted the quiet moments of exhaustion, the weight of navigating a family conflict that seemed to have no resolution. William, too, felt the impact. As a future king, he understood the importance of maintaining a united front, both for the sake of the monarchy and for his own family. Yet, as a husband and father, he sympathized with Kate's struggles and valued Carole's unwavering support. For William, the feud represented a broader challenge: how to balance the traditions of the monarchy with the evolving dynamics of a modern family. It was a question that loomed over every decision he made, adding an extra layer of complexity to an already challenging role. The situation came to a head during a family gathering in the spring of 2021. The event, meant to celebrate a milestone anniversary for Queen Elizabeth, brought the entire family together for the first time in months. While the gathering was outwardly cordial, the tension between Carole and Camilla was impossible to ignore. Insiders described the atmosphere as chilly, with the two women exchanging only the briefest of pleasantries. For those in attendance, it was clear that the feud was far from resolved. It was during this gathering that Queen Elizabeth reportedly took matters into her own hands. Known for her wisdom and diplomacy, the Queen had long avoided intervening in personal disputes. But with the unity of the family at stake, she decided it was time to act. In a private meeting with Carole and Camilla, the Queen is said to have addressed the tension directly, urging both women to put their differences aside for the sake of the family. While the details of the conversation remain private, those close to the situation described it as a pivotal moment, one that underscored the Queen's commitment to maintaining harmony within the monarchy. In the weeks that followed, subtle shifts began to emerge. While Carole and Camilla were far from becoming friends, their interactions grew less strained. At public events, the icy distance between them seemed to thaw, replaced by a more measured civility. Insiders noted that both women appeared to be making an effort, driven in part by their shared respect for Queen Elizabeth and her plea for unity. It was a fragile peace, but it was a step forward. For the royal family, the resolution of the feud marked a turning point. While the scars of the conflict remained, the efforts to move past it sent a powerful message. It was a reminder that even within the most scrutinized family in the world, there was room for growth and reconciliation. For Carole, the experience had been both challenging and illuminating. She emerged from the ordeal with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to support Kate and her family while respecting the boundaries of royal life. Camilla, too, took lessons from the experience. While the feud had exposed vulnerabilities, it also highlighted the importance of adaptability and understanding in an ever-changing world. For a woman who had spent much of her life navigating the complexities of the monarchy, the resolution of the conflict with Carole represented a new chapter, one defined by a willingness to embrace change and find common ground. As the dust settled, Kate and William focused on their growing roles within the royal family. For them, the resolution of the feud was more than just a personal victory. It was a symbol of the resilience and adaptability that would define the future of the monarchy. With Carole and Camilla finding a tenuous peace, the family was able to move forward, united in their shared commitment to tradition and progress. The story of Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla's feud will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the most dramatic chapters in recent royal history. It was a tale of contrasting personalities, clashing values, and the challenges of navigating family dynamics under the unforgiving gaze of the public eye. But it was also a story of reconciliation and growth, a testament to the power of dialogue and understanding in even the most challenging circumstances. For Carole, Camilla, and the entire royal family, it was a reminder that unity, though difficult, is always worth striving for. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.